Case Talk. Case Talk is a clever Liberia production. We are your presenters, Favor FYN,
Marisha on the Help Master Jesus.
Welcome to our program, Mr. Benedict Tokpa Danuweli.
For we at Case Talk and Clever Library team, I want to thank you for your time.
For all the children out there, can you please tell us who is Mr. Danuweli and what does he do?
Oh, thank you, Favor. Mr. Danuweli is a Liberian. He's single yet, but he still fathers a lot of kids. Professionally, he works for the Liberian Authority. He works as the project coordinator for the Institutional Capacity Development Project. And that is a project done in collaboration with the Swedish Tax Agency. So this project is basically providing support to the Liberia Revenue Authority, human resource capacity development. Because the LRA as an institution is Liberia's premier institution responsible to collect revenue for the growth and development of Liberia, if she has to aim and reach her target and her goals assigned to her every year, it has to be done through the people. So my job basically is to support the institution, to support the human resources, to get the relevant skills through the project so that we can have a better taxpayer services, communication. We can have the trust. Have the trust of the public. We can be able to clearly say we have identified some risks in our system and in our doing business, and we can mitigate them. And also, we can say that our staff are growing every day in knowledge, in skills, and the right attitude. So basically, my job is just to work with our local counterparts from Sweden and represent the Liberia Revenue Authority and just see whatever support we can provide to our institution in these three dimensions. I also am the country's coordinator for the John Maxwell Foundation called Equipped. Equipped is a non-profit organization. Equipped basically trains leaders just like you and emerging leaders to be able to lead change. And we believe that to be able to lead change, you must have values. Values like honesty, values like hard work, commitment, integrity, values like committing yourself to growing and becoming better every day. So at Equip, we work with institutions, we work with individuals, we work with students, and we work with people all across the country. We talk about leadership. We talk about people taking actions and good actions that can make Liberia a better place, a safer place for all of us. That's what I do.
Okay, how is our working so important in our society?
LRA is the institution responsible to collect revenue, okay? And the revenues LRA collect is what the government uses to build schools, to build the roads, and to make our society safe, and provide other social responsibilities for the people of Liberia. And for LRA to be able to do that, the staff need to know what they have done. They need to know the exact knowledge required for them to do the job. They need to have the right skill set to do the job. They also need to have the right attitudes to do the job. And more so, Liberia has a domestic resource mobilization strategy. That means, as a country, the big people came together. They say, with COVID-19, most of the donor countries and partners, they're holding back their monies. Before, most countries used to give us millions and millions of dollars. But because they themselves have problems, so they rather spend their money on their people. So as a country, Liberia decided to say, you know what? We can raise our own money and we can take care of the social services in our country and the infrastructure development of our country. So the Liberian government, in collaboration with partners, they developed a comprehensive document called the Domestic Resource Mobilization Strategy. And this document basically is to guide Liberia to be able to find money inside Liberia so that the government can use this money and can fund the basic social services. But the Liberian Revenue Authority is the premier institution responsible to go and collect this money and work with all the different ministries and agencies that got stick to the collection of this money. And one of the risk assessment to that strategy was that LRA as an institution, for it to be able to collect that money, the staff needed to be able to have the right competencies to collect the money. So there where my job comes in. So the senior management of our institution reached out to the Swedish Tax Agency, which is another revenue institution in Europe. So we told them basically, we said, you know what, Sweden, we need this support from you. We need you to help us work with our taxpayer services so that it can be modernized, so that when our people are ready to pay taxes, it's easy for them. But also, so our tax service or taxpayer service officers that are at the front desk can also know what they are doing, so that it can be a two-way street. So that's one of the components. Then the next part was our institution also said, you know what? We also need to be able to know the risks that is stopping us from collecting this amount of money. So another component came in the project portfolio. And then the final portfolio was, as an institution, we want our staff to really know what they're doing. So that if, for example, if they are communication officers, they know what it means to be a communication officer. If they need to learn how to read news, they need to learn it to the best of their abilities. If they need to learn how to talk to people, they need to do that at the best of their abilities. So it's called developing a competent human resource. So that's another component of the project. So my role as a project coordinator is to be able to work with all these small components and work with the expert that came from Sweden who's based in Monrovia. We work together, we make sure that the project activities are implemented by these different thematic areas. But at the end of the day, we want LRA to be a very competent institution so that LRA can in return collect $1 billion every year. And if LRA collect $1 billion every year, Liberian government will be easily able to, for example, to build the roads, to make sure lights are everywhere, to make sure you are safe and everything. So that's the other part of my work. The other side of my work, which is an initiative with the John Maxwell Institution, is basically almost the same, but this time I'm literally supporting my team to be able to help Liberians everywhere to develop when it comes to leadership. So not just leadership, but transformational leadership. And transformational leadership also means somebody that does not just have the title as a leader. Have you seen somebody that they say the person is the leader, but they are bad mannered? You don't see nobody like that yet? But have you ever seen a rude leader before? Good. Have you seen any leader that can steal? Not really. Oh, I were you favor? Okay. But let me shock you. There are some leaders who are bad manners, There are some leaders who can steal, there are some leaders who are corrupt, and these are the leaders responsible for most of our problems in our country. They are the ones that will make, if we allocate $2 million for a project, they will spend less than that amount and they put the bottom ones in their pocket. And so the things will not be done. You will suffer and I will suffer. So my project and our project with the Equip project is basically to be able to inspire a whole new brand of leaders like you who will have integrity, who will understand what it means to be trusted, who will understand how they are not doing their jobs affect somebody else's job, and it also affects the country. And that's why with the Equip Initiative, we are working with even government institutions, but we work with the students as well so that their minds can be developed. So that when you get out there, you will know what a leader is supposed to look like. And you also know what a leader should not be looking like. So when somebody comes to you who's very corrupt, who steals, who insults everybody in the community, who is setting a bad example, you will know that, hey, if that person comes to me and say, I want to be your leader, I will say no, because you're not a good example. Okay? So that's how my different roles help make Liberia, it's trying to help to make Liberia a better place.
How can one become a compliance officer at LRA?
So compliant officer at LRA, we have rules, okay? We have different sections. And basically to be a compliant officer is just to make sure whatever section you are in, you know, you're making sure whoever you're dealing with is also in line with the rules governing that section or whatever you're trying to enforce, okay? And to be a compliant officer, you yourself need to be compliant. That means if I hire a favor, for example, to be the compliant officer for this studio, your role will also mean you will make sure that everything here is done right. And if everything here has to be done right, you need to be right. Okay? You need to be right. So, if, for example, you are the compliant officer in this room, and putting my feet on the table is against the rule, you will not put your feet on the table and you tell me not to put my feet there. Okay? So, it all starts with you. And it's all in line with what I talked about, you know, values and living them out in a very loud way.
What are some advantages and challenges that you are faced with as a project coordinator?
Okay, so let me start with the advantages first. Okay, the mayor thought that what I want to do or what I'm supposed to do is helping an institution to increase its rating and capability to effectively collect revenue makes me happy. And a great advantage to that role is the fact that we have a senior management team that is super excited about capacity development and human development. So it makes you very happy when you're doing something that is relevant. Alright? And the disadvantage, I wouldn't say disadvantage, I would say challenge, is basically the fact that it's a project and people have their full-time roles. So as a project coordinator, I'm adding more roles to their already existing roles. So a lot of times, you know, they'll be looking at you like, hey Ben, I already have work to do here. You bring in another work again. But again, I will have to find a way how to tell them that this is still gonna be a part of your work. It's still an addition, and it's still helpful, and we just talk about it, we get it going. So basically, I think that is
Is your present career the one you dreamed about when you were growing up?
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. When I was growing up, when I was just like you, I wanted to be a medical doctor. I wanted to be a medical doctor. I was so amazing with the sciences. I was good with chemistry and everything else. I just grew up liking it, you know. And apparently it was just because they used to say doctors. Okay? I possibly never had all the understanding of what a doctor's supposed to do, but I just liked the name, to be a doctor. Okay? But then when I left high school and I entered college, I realized that, hey, to be a doctor, firstly, you need to go to school for 1 degree first in Liberia at the time. You need to go and get a bachelor's degree in biology first. And at that time, it was UL that was offering, that. And then UMU later started offering a degree in biology. But then it was such a long road. And just around that time also, I have my father who was our major support system. He took sick. He got so sick and things got so difficult for all of us. And as young as I was, I started to really calculate. I was like, okay, are you saying that I'm going to take 4 years to go and get a bachelor's degree and then take another maybe 5 or 6 years to enter WRT just to become a doctor? And then I also discovered that as much as I liked the name doctor, naturally, I don't like blood. Naturally, I don't stand wounds and people sewing and stitches and all those kind of things. You getting me? One day I was playing football with one of my friends and he got wounded. I was the captain of the team that time. So my role was to take him to the hospital. And when we arrived at the hospital and they were about to do the stitches and all those different kinds of procedures that the doctors would do, guess what happened to me? I fainted. Wow. Just like that. So that factor plus the fact that I could clearly calculate that the time to go to medical school versus my support system and what I needed to do to survive and all those different kinds of things, they were not really in my favor. So in my own mind, I just told myself, you know what, have a fallback plan. Go and do management, do business. At least you can get a job to put food on your table, to be able to take care of all your different responsibilities. So that's a no. But that also means sometimes we need to hold life loosely because life can be really difficult sometimes.
Is this a career path you encourage today's kids to consider as a future?
Most definitely. Most definitely. It's an honor to work for your country in whatever capacity that you have to do that. Beginning with the Liberia Revenue Authority, every role you play here is contributing to your country getting money so that basic social services can be rendered to the people of Liberia. That means if we do our jobs well, we will have a competent workforce that will collect more money. And when more money is collected, that means that child that is in the bush of Lofa County will have access to health care. That means malaria will not have to kill them. That also means when they are sick, they go to the hospital, they can get treated. But like you go into school right now, some people don't even have the means to go to school. They don't have good schools. So the government will also be able to undertake projects that will give them the opportunity to go to school. And on the equip front, there's so much need for all of us to go out in the community. We see so many kids are going bad. So many kids are on drugs. So many kids don't even study their lesson. So it's a whole package encouraging everyone to connect with their values. To know that, hey, even though I'm 12 years old, even though I'm 11 years old, like Fatu, Favor is, I can still have principles. I can still grow up. I can still teach other people to learn that thou shalt not steal, for example. I can still learn how to be truthful and teach other people to be truthful too. So these are amazing careers, and all of us should venture into them. All of you, even your friends, encourage other people to want to be part.
Before we go, what advice will you give the young people to help them focus on positive life choices?
That's a good one. So, Favor, life can be hard. Life can be really hard sometimes. It gets harder when people refuse to start taking good steps and start taking small positive steps early. Most of those kids we see in the graveyard, most of those kids we see in the night doing all sorts of bad things. They allowed the toughness of life to push them into those areas. My advice to every child is, even if you're good, you will still have tough days. But if you decide to take one good step at a time, it prepares you for the tough days ahead of you. And that's why all of us need to know who we are and who we are not. So you're growing up, you're beautiful ladies. You have so much to offer this world. But there are friends out there that don't know who they are. And if you're in the midst of these kinds of people, it's best to know who you are, to know who you're not. So to know who you are, you first need to know what are your values. And your values are principles. They are things that you will not trade. There are things, if everybody else is doing it, you will just tell yourself, this is not who I am. So if every young child in Liberia, every young person in Liberia learn that values are the building blocks for a successful future, we will have less crimes. We will have less adults who are irresponsible. We will have less irresponsible government officials in the future. We will have a better society where people will be giving positive vibes out there to inspire more people to do great things. So, in summary, I would just say, find your values and live them loudly.
Thank you so very much for your time, Mr. Benedict Danuweli.
Thank you kindly for having me. You guys are so smart and some of the smartest kids I've ever seen in Liberia. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Kids Talk is an educative kids program brought to you by Clap for Liberia, building a brighter future. Please like, subscribe, and follow all of Clap for Liberia platforms for more educative and entertaining content. Thank you for watching.